Hi everyone, Sterling Jakewith here with the Catholic Minimalism Challenge. And this week is week 4 and we are diving into kid rooms. Now, I know that makes a lot of you very nervous, especially if you have a lot of children, and especially if they're crammed into a room like sardines and you do not want to know what is under their bed or in their closets. So if you don't have children, then I want you just to keep going forward with the challenge. Either tackle a space that is not specifically listed in the 8-week outline, or you can just jump ahead, you can take a week off, or you can catch up if that's what you need to do. But for the rest of us, we are going to be talking about kids' rooms this week. Now, the first thing you need to decide is how you want to tackle the kids' rooms. You can do it in one of two ways. First, you can tackle it by theme. So you can decide, I'm going to touch all of the clothes first, and then all of the shoes, and then the toys. What I like about this approach is that it helps me to put everything out of a particular category, even if I have different children, out so I can see it. I can see all of the clothes for all the children. I like to do that especially when I'm changing over sizes or seasons, because then it allows me very quickly to kind of see where everybody's at. I'm going to do a separate video that's just about clothing and just about toys, so I'm not going to dive too much into that in this particular video. And so you're going to lay everything out, minimalize, purge, and then put everything back in where it goes. So one strategy is to do it by category. The next strategy that you may choose is to tackle an entire room at once. So you may choose to do, your girls' room or your boys' room. I don't know how your house is set up. For me, all 3 of my girls are in one room right now. The baby is in the guest room, and he really has one drawer and a bassinet in the guest room, so it's not his. And then we'll move him in with the girls as soon as he gets a little bit bigger and is ready for that. So we really only have one kid room in our house. And that's another reason why I like to tackle it per category instead of doing the whole room in one day. So it's your choice. You can either go by the categories that I've laid out, or you may tackle each room per day. The other thing I might mention as a strategy is for those of you that have children who are hoarders, you may choose to I put trash on Saturday, but you may choose to swap that out with Monday and do that first, because for some of you, it's just going to drive you bonkers to try to work in a space that's dirty. And so might I suggest, if you are one of those people, that you clear out the trash, clear out the papers, the clutter, and get that stuff gone before you tackle what you want to stay in your room. So you've decided that you're either going to tackle by category or you're going to tackle by room if you have more than one kid room. And the next thing you need to decide is if you're going to involve your children or not. I'm a big fan of involving children even at young ages, because I think it's important that we impart this idea of minimalism. It's a lifestyle, and I want my children to know how to do that. And so, I like to involve them, but I also realize that not every child is emotionally prepared to handle that. And if getting this done is more important and is going to help your sanity more than the teachable moment, I'd say pass the teachable moment. Okay, get it done. Make yourself calm and happy. There are going to be plenty of opportunities to teach our children about minimalism in the future. So my oldest is pretty good about letting go of stuff. So I know that I can lay out, 10 stuffed animals and say, you get to pick 2 to keep and the rest we're going to get rid of. She's pretty good about that. My next daughter, not as much. She has a lot of heart about everything, which is wonderful. But because of that, she's very attached to things. And so it's a lot more difficult for her to stare at the things and then make that choice. And so some days I'm willing to go through that with her and to give her that growth opportunity. And some days I'm just not. It's just up to me, and I'm just going to toss the stuff, and that's where we're at. So you need to decide what is best for you and your children and to tackle it in that way. I do think you should explain minimalism to the children, and I'm going to link a lot of articles because there were so many great ways to talk about minimalism in the articles that I found. And children intuitively understand this. We're all born wanting more stuff. It's not wrong to want things, but they understand that when they have too many things, it's hard to take care of. When you go to your children, you say you need to clean your room. Part of why they don't want to do it is their little brains actually cannot process how to clean up 150 things on the floor. They don't understand how to do that. They don't know how to break it down into smaller tasks and get it done. And so when you say to them, we want you to have a nice space for you to play in, for you to feel happy in, you're going to simplify the language a little bit. And you're going to say, so having less toys is better because then it's easier to clean up your room. And then you can go back to playing again. Doesn't that sound nice? And so we're going to lead them through this idea that having less creates more peace in our life. It allows us to have more time to play with our toys, and it's easier to clean up. They will get that. The other thing that I do is I explain that the things that we're getting rid of are going to go to children who are less fortunate. Now, that's true if you give anything to a thrift store, because it's likely that there's a mom who does not have a lot of money and she's shopping for her children at a thrift store instead of at Toys R Us or Target. So that's true. The other thing you can do is actually package up those clothes and find a mom that could, is struggling, a single mom or a family that doesn't have a lot of money, and give them some of the things that you're getting rid of. It's so beautiful to give children the opportunity to be compassionate and generous to other children. It's a wonderful thing to do. It's such a gift. Don't rob them of that. Hold them to a high standard of maturity. Most of them are going to rise to that occasion, and they're going to say, yes, Mom, let's give this to that little boy or little girl that doesn't have anything. Okay? It's really beautiful to see. Then the next thing you want to do is, and this is true whether you've gone through the purging minimalism process with your children or not. At the very end, you want to bring them back into the room and you want to say, okay, I'm going to show you where everything in your room lives. Children feel like their toys are people. They will grow out of that. That's just a developmental stage that they're in. You don't need to worry about it. And so it helps them, though, to think that this item, this teddy bear, has a home. And this teddy bear is going to live here on the shelf, or here in this box, or here on your bed, wherever the teddy bear is going to live. The Legos have a home. Here is where the Legos live. This is their home. And when I ask you to put them away, you put them back in their home. Okay, so we use the word home, and the toys live somewhere, okay? And that helps them to be able to put their stuff away. And again, you should have so few things when you're done with this that a child could reasonably put back everything in their room. I'll do a video of my girls' room so you can see what that looks like. We don't have any toys in my girls' rooms. They have stuffed animals and dress-up clothes. That's it. So I put this quote here because I think as we process kids' rooms, we have this idea that it's their fault, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a second. But really, the real work needs to come from us. We cannot give what we do not have. We cannot teach them the virtue of temperance, of controlling our wanter, without knowing how to do that ourselves. So here's the quote from St. Philip Neri. Look upon every temptation as an invitation to grow in a particular virtue, and as a promise by God that you will be successful if only you stand fast. And really take that in for a moment, because you're going to feel tempted to let your children keep lots of stuff. You're going to be tempted to keep things because of how people think of you, how your mother-in-law thinks of you, how your friends are going to think of you. That's a temptation. But not giving in to these temptations is an invitation to grow in virtue. And that's why we're here. We want to grow in virtue. And God promises that you will be successful in this. He promises. When we overcome our temptations, He promises that we're going to grow in virtue, if only we stand fast. And so what He's saying is, be strong. Be strong. As you go through this process, don't let yourself be pulled by the world, be pulled by the expectations of the people around you, be pulled by the advertisements that you see and the perfect homes that are featured in television, right? That's not real life. It's not heaven. It's not what we want. It's not what we're here for. Okay? And I think in a way it's easier for us to tackle our own bedroom than it is for us to tackle our kids' bedrooms, because we have all these emotions that we get caught up with our children. We're not ready to hold the same hard line. And again, there are no right or wrong rules. I'm not going to tell you that you have to limit stuffed animals to any particular number. Okay? You know what's right for you. And even if you have this idea of what's right for you and you're not ready to do that, that's okay. Make a baby step. You may do this once a year and it may take you 5 years to get to where you want to be, but we are playing the long game now. And that's the difference between making a lifestyle change and just going through something once because it's trendy. Okay? My kids, we have this virtues program. It's called We Choose Virtues. And the virtue for contentment is, the catchphrase for it is control your wanter. So I say this to my kids all the time. I'll say, oh, it doesn't sound like you're controlling your wanter. Are you controlling your wanter right now? And that has, by the way, become embedded in my mind too. So when I'm walking, down the aisles of a store, I kind of think like, oh, you're not controlling your wanter right now. And it helps me. But that is what we're trying to teach them right now. In this process, we're really trying to give them the gift, and it is a gift, you guys. The gift of contentment, of being happy with what we have and not wanting more. Teaching them to control their wanter. That's what we're trying to impart in this process. And the last thing I want to mention is that kids do not buy toys themselves. Okay? Every toy that's in your child's room, except for those of you who have big kids that maybe can drive and buy things themselves, but most of us don't have that, or we at least have some young kids at home, and they are not going to the store buying stuff. You have let every single piece of whatever, paper, toys, trash, anything, come into your home and come into their room. Okay? You have allowed that to happen. It is not their fault. It is not their job to be the adult. You are the adult and you control what comes into your home. So that means you may need to examine your relationships with other people. You may need to examine your own relationship with going to the store and impulse buying things that you don't need, going to the dollar store and buying those kind of cheap toys that end up living in your home all the time. It's your choice. But you control what comes in your home and you control what your children are allowed to have. Okay? The good news about that is you're also the one that can fix that if it's a problem, right? So I just want to encourage you to look a little bit at yourself and ask yourself, how did this happen with the kids? How did their rooms get so bad? And how can we move forward with a better plan? Now, it is not my goal for you that you feel bad about it. I don't waste any time feeling bad about something when I've identified that it is a problem. That is a problem, Sterling. You were doing X, Y, and Z, and it was not good for you, and it was causing problems. Let's move on. We don't need to attach emotions to it. We don't need to feel guilty about it. We don't need to feel trapped by our past behavior. Okay? We can move on and make better choices going forward. It doesn't need to be a big deal. Okay? And so I want you to remember that you control what your children have, you control what comes into your home, and you also get to control what leaves your home. Okay? So, week 4, kids' rooms. Okay? It's going to be a really big deal for some of you. Some of you don't even have children. It's not a big deal. Or some of you have 1 kid or 2 kids. But some of you have 12 kids. Okay? And it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be hard. But, is it worth it? Oh man, running a home is so much easier when you have less stuff, less trash, less toys, less cheap things that just fill up our rooms. We all have it, piles of stuff. Now is a great time, especially before the holidays, to clear out that stuff and to find more peace in our home. And even if your kids push back on that a little bit, they will experience this. They will experience more contentment with less stuff. I promise you, you are not depriving them in any way by getting rid of all of this stuff that they don't need. Read the articles. They will help you to feel strong. I'm going to post the Q&A graphic early this week, because I think that we're going to have a lot of questions about kids' rooms. And so type in your question. I will answer them live on Thursday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And make sure that I can help you in any way that I can. So Godspeed, my friends, tackling kids' rooms. I will say some prayers for you.